Everyone. This is John doing week 8 of Setup Bootcamp, feeling better, feeling mighty. Now, went over CI/CD processes and starting to grasp the notion. It sounds scary at first, but once you understand the various parts, well, first of all, the overlaying mechanism. Because right now we're playing with Azure DevOps, and Azure DevOps is once you get used to the UI and some concepts such as agents and how many agents you need to run the process and who watches those agents and what are they doing, it's a whole kind of dynamic that you need to really understand, and the only way to understand this is hands-on and deploy, 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 deploy. And then once it's clicked, you understand, okay, you need one environment agent, or it could have been a deployment group. They're a bit confusing in this regard. So right now I'm working with environments, and then you have a whole process of steps, jobs, and stages. So you need to play with it a bit with a YAML file. So also move into YAML orientation. It's also a bit clumsy at the start, but how to validate, so you can use, in a way, you can use snippets from the sidebar to validate what you're trying to do, but basically work from a Git folder locally, because otherwise you just have a long file. So working with templates in a YAML file makes this whole process smooth. So this is regarding this process, and I think I will also do a combination today between preparing for the quiz, and I'm actually going to run it today. I'm going to run it pretty soon, I think, unless I feel very uncomfortable because I'm fresh, and also work and see how I'm working. This week is pretty interesting because we're not only deploying the application with Terraform onto Azure Cloud, we are also migrating or provisioning the various machines with Docker containers, and each Docker container runs its own kind of runs to the front end. So we have it on free machine on a load balance, and on the other hand, we have Postgres managed in staging and production. So it's kind of nice. I'm hearing kind of issues regarding virtual scale, which I really wanted to learn, but I guess it's not that wrong. It's not that different. But it looks like the project is designated for load balance, and I will learn virtual scale. It's not something. I think load balance is much harder because you have to manually understand the IP, the subnet of each machine, and make sure it's connected. If you build it in a module, it's much more dirty and messy. But in the long run, you become an expert. All right, so let's start with the quiz. So what do we have in the quiz? What we have this week? Um, let's see that we understand everything. Okay, so these are the topics, containers, and also a bit about how volumes, networking, debugging I haven't looked at. So let's see. Repo connected. Well, registries. I think it's actually repository. Repositories containing the Docker file and source code, etc. Right. Also, we have volumes, which is kind of interesting. Volumes are saved states of the containers. They are shared. You can keep one and load it into another or several machines, right? Networking. So we said that each Docker container has a port, but apart from containers talk to each other over um, over the bridge. Uh, I need to study. So I think let's mark in 3 stars, and this would be the reason probably I want. Well, I feel fresh and all, but maybe it's something I need to. Yeah, I don't know about debugging. Now Docker Compose, as I understand, YAML file that can orchestrate several containers. Yes. Mm, and and also manage the dependencies between them. Okay, so now that we have, so on the top I have already researched Google, and I see that I've arrived somewhere good. So let's look at, well, we have CI/CD for containerized applications. Contain, well, containerized, containerized. Yeah, this is why Google wouldn't find it. So now we need to. Okay, so let's take a look. Well, okay. So what is a containerized pipeline? Software development pipelines where you can define the steps and environment. Yes. Well, duh. But so Kubernetes. We have the build, the test, deploy, release. I think it's a very big subject, and how can I? Well, let's just say we can use this. Why containerized pipelines? Knowing the benefits of containers, why not put pipelines in them? Containerized pipelines allow for isolation between pipeline jobs. Every single job runs off a container image, which includes all the dependency needed for the application because of this fact. Okay, so the idea is, if I understand, is to contain each model. Now, I'm not sure if it means containing Docker or containing general in a YAML file. But yeah, in a pipeline, you do a complete CI process or CD process. And you can see from here what the meaning is. So we can also copy this very long definition, but you get to understand what the concept is. So I think this is the best one. And although it's long, I can read it to you and explain what's the idea, and also, more importantly, understand myself. So now we get to the Docker architecture, and this is part I haven't yet Googled up. So let's write Docker architecture. Okay. So yeah, Docker uses client-server architecture. Good. And what else? What are the three main components? We got the daemon, the host, the registry. So Docker client, Docker host, and Docker registry. Now I won't settle for just writing those. Let's also explore each one. So the Docker daemon is the host or the client. It's very confusing. So let's see. So Docker registry, what is it? Okay, the stateless, highly scalable server-side application that store and let you distribute Docker image. Not bad. Okay, so yeah. I think this would be something that would confuse, will confuse us. So it's good to know in advance. Docker host. Docker host. So a host is a machine responsible for one or more containers. Yeah, so what is the difference? So Docker host is a server machine on which Docker daemon runs. Okay, so yeah. Host. Now, not finished yet. We have a Docker client. So all these are parts of architecture in which I'm kind of sure it's going to be a confusion. So client is actually Docker client is the primary way that many Docker users interact with Docker. When you use commands such as docker run, the client sends this command to dockered, which carries them out. The Docker command uses a Docker daemon. Docker API, the Docker client can communicate with more than one daemon. Okay. Now we get to Docker installation. Did I miss something about Docker server? Something like that? What are Docker servers? Okay, let's take that as well because I think there's a possibility that this would be another tricky question. So just write that this concept exists and Docker server is actually Docker. Okay. Installation. How to install. So yeah, you need to install Docker engine, and this is how I wrote it. But how Docker is installed? Download Docker, install. How to installation. Okay, well, that is kind of how do I install and start Docker. It's all very similar. I think this one is not bad, although it's mainly for Linux. Okay, Docker CLI. So yeah. And what else do we have? I heard about this Rancher. Now, what is it? Rancher. Rancher integrates with a native Docker so that it can be used alongside other DevOps. Okay, I instantly bookmark and Rancher. Kubernetes as a service. I see. Very interesting. Powerful stuff.
The need to deploy advanced digital services has never been more urgent. Maximum flexibility and agility are now essential as IT teams build for competitive advantage. As more multi-cloud, 5G, big data, and AI use cases appear, choosing the right Kubernetes strategy is critical. Some vendors will tell you it's safer to rely on tried and tested legacy platforms, but their monolithic solutions are proprietary, expensive, and lack the flexibility needed to unleash the full potential of Kubernetes. There is a better way. Rancher is the market leader in open source cloud native Kubernetes management and allows you to manage and scale workloads consistently across thousands of clusters in any environment and support any certified Kubernetes distribution. Monitor the health of all your clusters through a single pane of glass. Simplify and automate the deployment and management of containerized applications. Deploy persistent storage with just one click. And simplify global access control and security policies for your entire Kubernetes environment. With Rancher, everybody wins. IT ops can create more value upstream and accelerate time to market.
Interesting, huh?
Built with popular open source tools, Rancher gives developers the agility they need to build world-class applications faster. And because Rancher is 100% open source, you can achieve all of this at a fraction of the cost of legacy solutions. Kubernetes is the key to unlocking digital transformation. Rancher is the key to unlocking the full potential of Kubernetes. Schedule your free no obligation consultation today.
Both. Interesting. So I guess it's pretty soon to talk about Kubernetes, but I think this questions leads us. So I got it from CLI because how to manage. Okay, so let's get back to our Docker, and we have Docker files. Docker file is a text document. What are Docker files used to? Not bad. And now we have Docker registries. Starting to get to the areas which I have no idea. What a Docker registry is a storage and distribution system for named Docker images. Yes. So it's actually local. The same image might have multiple. Hmm. Docker repository. Uh-huh. Okay. Yeah. Sure. Let's talk about volumes. So and networking. So what else do we have? Debugging, and again a new concept. We can turn on debug mode. Didn't know that. We can take a look also on the. Uh, I think I shouldn't pass on to the exam because, as we can see, there are many a lot of stuff I need to take a peek of, take a peek on. So Docker Compose, yeah, tool for multi-container. Cool. What I think I will do is leave in the background my let's see. There's also some. I can only leave the sound. I think. Uh, Let me see. Do you hear this? Is it? Okay, so we're discussing Docker tags. Um, okay, so in the record I listened to this, so I might be silent from now on. So let's restart the stream, and what I'm gonna show is more into just the way I work.